Today, we're diving into one of the most interesting and rewarding aspects of livestock farming, goat farming. If you're considering raising goats for profit, or if you're already running a goat farm, understanding the financial side of the operation is key to long-term success. In this video, we're going to explore how profit margins in goat farming are calculated, the factors that impact those margins, and most importantly, how you can optimize your operation for better profitability. So, if you're ready to crunch some numbers and dive into the world of goat farming economics, stick around. Let's get started. 1. The basics of goat farming economics. To understand the profit margins in goat farming, we first need to break down the basic elements of the business. Goat farming isn't just about raising goats. There's a lot more to it. To keep things simple, we'll focus on the main sources of income from goat farming, including meat production, milk production, and fiber production, such as cashmere or mohair. Each of these aspects can generate income, but the financial potential varies depending on your market, location, and farming practices. Let's take a closer look at each. 2. Revenue streams in goat farming. A. Meat production. Goat meat or chevon. Goat meat is one of the most sought-after types of meat in many parts of the world, especially in Middle Eastern, African, and Asian markets. It's lean, flavorful, and often more affordable than beef or lamb, which makes it an attractive choice for consumers. The average price of goat meat per pound can range anywhere from $3 to $7, depending on the region, market demand, and quality of the meat. The profitability of meat production largely depends on the breed of goat you're raising, their weight at slaughter, and the overall production costs. For example, meat goats like Boer or Kiko are popular breeds because of their fast growth rates and large sizes, which result in higher market value. B. Milk production. Goat milk. Goat milk is another major revenue source for many goat farms. It's a highly nutritious product and can be sold directly as fresh milk or used to produce value-added products like cheese, yogurt, and soap. On average, goat milk sells for about $6 to $12 per gallon, but this can fluctuate depending on the demand and your location. Some farms specialize in dairy goats and may produce premium products, which can be sold for a higher price. Dairy goats like the Nubian, Saanen, and Alpine breeds are highly sought after in the industry. These goats can produce an impressive amount of milk, up to 2 gallons per day, during peak lactation periods. The key here is maximizing milk yield and maintaining a steady, high-quality production line. C. Fiber production, mohair, and cashmere. Goat farming isn't just about meat and milk. Some goats, such as the Angora goat, produce mohair, and others, like the cashmere goat, are raised for their fine wool. These fibers can be spun into high-quality textiles, which can be sold for a premium price. While fiber production isn't as common as meat or dairy in most goat farms, it can still be a profitable niche market, especially if you focus on high-quality fiber for clothing, scarves, or blankets. On average, mohair prices can range from $5 to $15 per pound, depending on the quality and market conditions. 3. Key costs of goat farming. All right, now that we know the major sources of income from goat farming, let's take a look at the costs. After all, your profit margin depends on how well you manage these expenses. Here are the key costs involved in goat farming. A. Initial investment costs. Starting a goat farm involves several initial investments. You'll need to purchase land, unless you already own it, build fencing, buy equipment, like milking machines, feeders, waterers, and of course, purchase your goats. The cost of goats themselves can vary widely. For example, a high-quality Boer goat might cost anywhere from $100 to $300 per head, while dairy goats can cost around $150 to $400 depending on the breed. The investment here can add up quickly, especially if you're starting with a larger herd. B. Operating costs. Once your farm is up and running, there are ongoing operating costs to manage. These include feed, vet care, labor, and housing. Let's break them down. Feed. Goats are known for their ability to graze on rough pasture, but they still need supplemental feed. For a goat, you'll spend an average of $200 to $500 per year on feed, depending on their diet and herd size. Veterinary care. Regular health checks, vaccinations, and treatments for parasites are essential. Vet bills can range from $50 to $200 per goat annually. Labor. If you're operating a large-scale goat farm, labor costs can be significant. Hiring farmhands or paying for additional labor can cost anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000 per year, depending on the size of your operation. Housing and equipment. Proper shelter, fencing, milking equipment, and other infrastructure will also incur costs. The investment in infrastructure could be anywhere from $2,000 to $20,000, depending on the scale. C. Marketing and distribution costs. Finally, there are marketing and distribution costs. Whether you're selling goat meat, milk, or fiber, you'll need to budget for packaging, transportation, and potentially even a website or farmers market fees. These can vary, but a typical budget for marketing and distribution could be $1,000 to $5,000 annually, depending on how you choose to reach your customers. 4. Profit margins in goat farming. Now, let's talk about the all-important numbers. Profit margins. Profit margin is the percentage of revenue that remains after all your costs have been deducted. In goat farming, there's no one-size-fits-all answer, because it depends on factors like your farming practices, the size of your operation, and the type of products you produce. But we can get a general idea of the margins. A. Profit margin for meat goat farming. Let's say you're raising goats primarily for meat production. A typical boar goat might weigh between 80 to 100 pounds at slaughter and sell for about $300 to $400. After factoring in feed, healthcare, and other costs, your net profit per goat could be around $100 to $200, $150 per animal. If you have a herd of 50 goats, you could potentially generate an income of around $5,000 to $7,500 annually from meat sales alone. B. Profit margin for dairy goat farming. For dairy goats, the profit margins depend on milk production and the value-added products you create. A Nubian dairy goat can produce up to 2 gallons per day during peak lactation. Let's say you sell the milk for about $8 per gallon. Over the course of the year, each goat could generate around $5,000 to $7,000 in milk sales, depending on how long they remain in lactation. However, you need to factor in the costs for feed, healthcare, and labor. After those expenses, dairy goat farms can typically expect a net profit margin of around 10 to 20%. C. Profit margin for fiber production. If you're in the fiber business, such as raising Angora goats for mohair, the profit margins can be quite high, but it depends on the quality of the fiber. A single Angora goat can produce 5 to 8 pounds of mohair per year, which can be sold for $10 to $15 per pound. This means each goat could generate anywhere from $50 to $120 in fiber income annually. While fiber farming may have lower operating costs compared to meat or dairy farming, the overall market for fiber is more niche and dependent on demand. So profit margins here are less predictable. So there you have it. Goat farming can be a profitable venture, but it requires careful planning, a keen understanding of costs, and a solid strategy for managing income and expenses. By understanding the factors that affect your profit margins and implementing smart farming practices, you can turn your goat farm into a sustainable, profitable business. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below with your questions or thoughts on goat farming. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, happy farming.